There are many great digital products out there, but often we see that there is one thing missing, and that is the soul. In this video, we are going to break down the fundamentals and show you how to introduce this back into your design process, ultimately creating great digital products that have soul. So if you are a UX or UI designer, this is definitely one that you do not want to miss. What's good, everybody? We are Hyperfocus. We're a design studio based in Hamburg. My name's Paul, and this is Jan.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, what we do on a day-to-day basis is we build brands and we translate them into digital products, services, and experiences.
Yeah, and it just so happens that we are on YouTube making content all about that. And for this video, we have been invited by CareerFoundry to talk a little bit more about our processes and design in general, and to name one, which is a topic that is dear to our heart, which is putting the soul back into products. So I think without further ado, we should jump straight in. Let's do this. Ultimately, what you want to do is create beautifully designed experiences, great digital products. But what often happens is the culture, the personality, and the brand is forgotten in that process. Far too often we jump directly in and start designing and we forget about those parts. And what we want to do in this video is we want to show you how to take ownership of that and actually introduce that into your design process, ultimately giving your product and taking your product to the next level. All right, so I mentioned culture. What do I mean by culture? Jan, please explain to me what culture is all about.
Okay, so that's actually our first topic. It's understanding brand culture. And yeah, what do we mean by brand culture? I mean, usually when a project starts, if it's a simple project, you might get a logo and a set of colors and some typography. If it's let's say a more mature project, then you might get the proper PDF style guide, where everything is documented, like the brand assets.
Which we don't recommend.
No,
living style guides, get those things.
Digital
online.
ones, yeah, that's definitely
They're the best ones to be asking for.
Or you're working in a bigger team with like a tech company or something, then you might have access to a proper, fully developed design system.
Yeah.
But what we are referring to as brand culture is not necessarily documented in there. It might be. I mean, in some of them it is. So you have to actually look for them, and maybe ask for them. Maybe it's just in the head of the founder of the company, but you need to get it out, because that's super important, this documentation of the brand culture. Yeah,
so it's really important to take ownership of that and ask those questions.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's also like different kind of wordings or vocabulary for brand culture. You can also call it brand strategy or brand identity. So you find all different kind of ways to say that. But it's everything, or what they have in common is all about turning the abstract idea of our brand into something more concrete, to make it more tangible. Mm-hmm. Okay? At the end of the day, it's all about understanding the business and the customer, but also to understand what you as a organization stand for. So what's your values? What are your beliefs? Okay? And if that's documented somewhere and shared with everyone, it just makes it much easier to make decisions, in terms of like visual aspects or interactions or voice.
Yeah, and it's often referred to as basic elements, as purpose, vision, mission, and core values.
Yeah, right. So that's what we introduced today. Is like really the basic elements of this kind of brand culture.
Yeah, so definitely ask those questions, find those things out, get them as part of your arsenal, your secret weapons, really, somewhat to actually be able to bring those to the table when making those big decisions, because it ultimately will have a bigger effect on the experience and design later on.
And we brought you a very nice example from Spotify. They have a beautiful designed like sub-page. It's called Being Here, where they present like the whole brand culture. Yeah. So here, for example, that's like super cool thing I think is that here at Spotify we like to think ourselves as a band.
Ah,
yeah.
nice.
So that's like a overall story, and which then plays through like the whole culture and how they documented it. Yeah. I mean, they say, okay, sure, we don't look a lot like the group you put together in high school that could only play one Led Zeppelin song, but we still think the comparison fits. That's, I think, the brand purpose of Spotify. Yeah. So we believe in an inclusive culture where everyone feels empowered to share their full selves, where everyone feels like they belong. Yeah. So you can see overall, like we are a band, and then they kind of, explain like their purpose. And also they translated it into their brand mission. So I'm reading the brand mission to you. To unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creators the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by it. It's a long, complicated sentence, but I think everyone gets it, right? So yeah, it's a lot about inclusivity as well, and but being also like a team.
Yeah, but I can really see how you could pull the idea of culture, really specifying those roles. There's definitely an emotional tie there through that storytelling. I think it's really easy to take something that could be quite abstract and bring it into a much more tangible idea, especially with Spotify. That's really, really on brand, right?
Yeah.
So there's actually 5 values that Spotify kind of uses as a guiding light. The first one is innovative. We move fast and take big risks. Number 2 is sincere. We have no time for internal politics, which is nice. I like that. The third one is passionate. We revel in what we do. Number 4 is collaborative. We recognize that we're all in this together. Awesome philosophy. And playful. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
And you might think, okay, they read all this blah blah to us. So what can I do with that? And what I'm as a UX or UI designer, what do I have to do with that? But that's actually the very important part. You need to kind of understand it, because the words, they need to be also like filled with action and with cause and with purpose. And you as a UX or UI designer are also responsible to make these words, to bring them alive.
Yeah. So these are the things that you start to inject into every interaction, every micro animation, into some of the things that we will cover, which is tone of voice. And this is already kind of a precursor to that. So this is kind of the starting point of forming that glue, which will then start to bring all of your creativity and your UX together as one in a bigger experience.
Yeah, and when you look at Spotify as a product now, right now, you can kind of, see all of these values, and the mission and the vision somehow be injected into the product.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that's Spotify, that's like super big tech company, they might have like already like a mature design system where if you join a company like this, you get access and everything is in there. But I mean, there are also like different kind of projects where you just get the logo and some colors and some images, and then they say, okay, off you go.
Yeah, or if you're working with a startup as well, like maybe a lot of these ideas they're there, but they're still manifesting in maybe the founder's head, as it were.
Yeah. So if something is documented, try to find it, ask for it, go through it, and figure out if it makes sense for you. If not, we actually there's a little exercise we can give you. There's everyone might know Jake Knapp, who is the creator of the Design Sprint, the book, and he also wrote a little article about a workshop, and he called it the 3-hour brand sprint. And everyone, when this is missing and you feel there's nothing, for me, then, bring some people together who have a word in the project and run this little workshop, and then you already got at least the basics for you to start working.
Yeah, and I think like retrospectively, just what we just looked at with those 5 key kind of values, you can then start to look and try and find those of your own that make sense for the project that you're working on.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's all about, turning this abstract idea of brand into something concrete. So you can actually make decision based on this. And the basic elements we just talked about them is like the brand vision, the brand mission, and the core values. So the mission statement defines the organization as business, its objectives, and how it will reach these objectives. And the vision statement details where the organization aspires to go and why does the company exist. The vision sometimes might also be called the brand purpose. Yeah, and then you have the brand values. It's usually between like 3 values or 7. I don't think it should be more, because then it gets a little bit random, I would say. And sometimes it's just words. You need to fill them with actual meaning, with consequences, with action. Yeah, and as I said, most of the brands have it. Go out, look for it. If not, do the 3-hour workshop, get together the basics, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, and we think this is your opportunity to really, whether we said before, whether you're a UI UX designer, is to make this part of your initiative. Go out there and explore and make it an important part of the process, because ultimately this will be the part of the puzzle which contributes to the storytelling, and storytelling is key when it's about bringing the soul and bringing all those pieces back together to create a very, enlightened experience. But it's super important to look for those, because this will be the precursor to everything that you really do when putting these products together.
Yeah, and you can always go back to them and check, reflect yourself if what you do, if that fits, and you can even keep on working on these mission, on the vision. It's not set in stone. It's like a living thing. It grows with the company. The culture might change over the course of the years.
Yeah, but by finding these also, it helps to elevate the product as well. And ultimately, we want to create products that people love, they feel understood, and they want to come back to and use time and time again. Making that connection through understanding those values and implementing them into the design is key to making that happen. So next on the agenda is TOV, tone of voice. It's something that we mentioned previously, and we're going to take a little bit more of a closer look into what that actually means. And it just so happens that we have a really, really classic and fantastic example to go through with you guys, and that is Headspace.
All right, cool. So first of all, what is tone of voice? I mean, you might have heard it, but you might have no idea what does it mean. So tone of voice is actually not what you say, it's more how you say it. Yeah, it's like how your brand talks to the people. Okay, and yeah, just like a human voice, you need to really immediately recognize it.
Yeah, so that's really differentiating between the actual content itself and the descriptive form that it takes within like the body or the headline copy, or even in the CTAs as well.
Yeah, so it's the pace, it's the order, it's the rhythm of the words. It's the overall mood and feeling they create for you. Yeah, it's like an attitude.
Yeah, and this is often like it's a subconscious thing as well. It's something that when you're experiencing a product, you can't really put your finger on that feeling, but it just resonates with you. If the tone of voice is meant for you, and the targeting, the positioning is the correct one that you guys, are able to implement as well through your research, then it will really help to form those human connections with all of the interactions they have with the product. Yeah.
And yeah, we brought like Headspace today as an example. Headspace, for those of you who not heard of Headspace, it's a meditation and mindfulness app with the mission to make lives less stressful. Yeah. And how is the tone of voice for a company like that? It's actually It's very calm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so fits already, right?
Yeah.
So it's very simple, reassuring, and positive. Yeah.
I think the beauty of Headspace as an example is that it takes something that maybe we wouldn't necessarily have found interesting and puts it in a very approachable way. And it uses the language that is often associated within that environment of meditation, and allows it to be a bit more accessible. And I think the beauty of what Headspace did was it opened up an entire category, an entire genre, allowed people in. And that was really, yes, on one aspect, you can see that there was a great brand when it came to monsters and illustrations and the types of graphic world that they created. But the main thing was the tone of voice and that kind of very expressive nature that Headspace really, I think they really cornered. They were one of the first ones on the market, and there was many copycats that came after that. And I think that's also very much testament to implementing this kind of approach through language into your marketing and into your products.
Yeah, and they actually did it by, making this language very easy. Yeah, very simple.
Yeah.
They have this nifty little tricks that makes the whole copy somewhat engaging.
Yeah. There's a lot of rewards. There's a lot of hooks in the experience if you've ever tried it as well in the app, and not just in the app, but also in other touch points as well. They did a really, really great job of bringing you in and rewarding you through language, and also through illustrations and animations and stuff, to really give you a very rich and engaging experience.
Yeah. So what can we learn from Headspace? Entirely geared towards the user and the wants and the needs of the user. Mm-hmm. Consistency, as you just said, it's key. You can feel it throughout the whole experience with Headspace. It has a personal touch. It feels like someone's really talking to me. And yeah, tone of voice is more than words. Yeah, it's copy, it's visuals, it's video, it's music. It's everywhere, and everything should be informed by the tone of voice.
Yeah, I can just imagine if you were to create Headspace without that personal touch, because meditation is such a personal thing, and you are not implementing some of those values that you've discovered at the beginning with that language, it would somewhat feel a bit soulless, right? It would feel a bit empty. And by bringing that stuff in, again, we talk about this enrichment and this engagement, it brings closer that personal touch, which is super important.
Yeah. So, champion it, because in a lot of projects it's not even mentioned.
Yeah,
not even thought of.
Yeah, your text might just be in a Google Doc that's delivered to you, and you have to copy and paste. It might look nice, but really, if that emphasis on that storytelling part of it isn't there, it's not clicking, it's not coming together.
Every button counts.
Yes, that should be your mantra. Every button counts. Make them engaging, make them interesting, make them fun. Reward your user through language. All right, so topic number 3 is design exploration. And what normally happens is when you start a project, you jump directly in, and there's kind of nothing wrong with that. That's how it's always been done. But what we're asking you to do is actually take a step back and look at the whole picture with a bit more of a global perspective. So what we want to do is we actually use a method called stylescapes. And in stylescapes, we have the ability and the space to actually jump into different parts of the puzzle, as it were. We start to explore UI elements, we look at the tone of voice, we look at photography, we look at all the things that we need to build our products, and we look at them on a visual landscape.
Yeah, so let's open our example here, our stylescape. Yeah, maybe you can tell a little bit about the project, give a little intro. What is this all about?
Yeah, sure. So we're currently working with an amazing woman called Zamina. She has started her own business called Shades and contrast. So we went through the whole same experience that we've described to you, also including naming as well. So looking at the positioning and the tone of voice and how she actually wants to show up. And this company is all about pioneering diversity in a workshop environment.
Okay, so let's have a look how this actually looks in a stylescape. So that's, I mean, stylescape, or you can call it whatever you want. You can also have like the format, whatever you want. We actually use like a landscapey kind of format. But the main idea is that you really start exploring the brand. Yeah, as you said, you take typography, take colors, take imagery, take like your first ideas about like UI elements and put them together and play with them. Yeah, because what you don't want to do is, you know, just go in, start with all the margins and paddings and the buttons and the type sizes. You need to have the chance to be a bit more playful just right from the beginning.
We often refer to this as, I suppose, a little bit of theatre. It's your time to actually tell the story, to actually present your work. And I also think working from left to right also helps to reveal bit by bit the actual design elements. And when they're all placed together like this, you start to get a feeling. And when you're putting the soul back into your design, a feeling is incredibly important. A brand and experience is the sum of many parts. And far too often when design is being presented, it's designed bit by bit by bit. So it's typography, logo, colors. And in this case, we show this as an entire, like an experience. And this is very, very crucial to create a mood and to really understand how the brand is developing. If that soul is actually resonating and there's that connection with your client or with the audience.
Yeah. So when we look here, I mean, we just, as we said, we play around with typography, with big headlines, H1, H2, but you know, don't think about like the size or like the responsiveness of it. Just be a bit creative. Actually, play around. You know, add these visual elements, colors. You know.
In this case, the brand is focused on workshops or the actual execution of what she actually does. And so what we wanted to do was actually bring some of that into the design. So you'll see workshop colors, you also see post-it notes, like the kind of, we're definitely referencing the environment that the user or the prospective client of hers would actually feel comfortable and feel like they're in the right place, feel like they've been there before they've even actually experienced the brand.
Yeah. And you can also, you don't have to have like all the like images, for example. Just, you know, go online, find images where you feel that they fit. You can even, you know, look for illustrations, for example, or icons, and then, you know, try, because then when you put them together, you can actually see, okay, that works or it doesn't.
Yeah, so you can start to see the graphical elements actually all starting to come together with, again, the claims, don't dream, again, invokes a certain emotion. The colors are retrospective of a workshop. Now we start to bring those things together. You really start to see what we've been discussing throughout this whole video is the wording and the UI all starting to play their role together to create some kind of glue. So here you see the words empower, let's build a better culture. We also, you know, lay claim to some of those words that we talked about before, which is diversity and culture, which is part of the, you know, the orientation of the experience. But by bringing these words, culture is built, and other words that are very, very much resonate with what she's trying to say. So let's build a better future for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean it's so clients actually love it. Yeah. So they really feel like they're part of it.
And I also put it to you as well to use some words that we use as well. Is at the end of presenting, we always ask the client, how do they feel, not what they think. Often, again, in different styles of presentation where we're not using this glue to connect everything together, the client is often put in a very difficult situation where they have to make decisions based on individual things. Do you like the logo? Are the colors right for you? Do you like the typography? That's too sometimes very abstract for a client to make those decisions on. So in this instance, ask, how do you feel? Because I can tell you that the client will either say it doesn't feel right or it feels on point. And from there on, you can then start to refine and start to develop the individual assets that ultimately will be part of the building block of the design that you actually end up implementing in the end.
Yeah, and because what you don't want is like having already built like a whole pattern library, yeah, and then you put it together and then the client looks at it and says, yeah, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, a pattern library, yes, it's part of the process, but you cannot ask somebody to have an emotional judgment or feeling or connection with a button. But when you put a button within context of a bigger global picture with all of those elements and with those words, it's much, much easier to do.
It also speeds up the whole process, I think, because you can make a lot of decisions right at the beginning and then start executing like a website, for example.
Yeah. All right, so just before we finish, we would like to give you 3 key takeaways. So Jan, can you give us those takeaways?
Yes. So our 3 main topics, which actually help you to bring back the soul into your process, into your project, into your products, are first of all, understand the brand culture. Second, implement tone of voice into your project, into your product, into everything you build. And the third, design exploration. Yeah, step back, look at the global picture, be playful, and then look at every margin and every padding.
All right, cool. Yeah, we have been Hyperfocus. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us on this topic that is very dear to our hearts. We hope you have learned something on this. So if you have, don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to the CareerFoundry. And if you want more brand-related topics, you can also head on over to Hyperfocus. As we said, we are on YouTube too, making content like this. So head on over and subscribe, and maybe you can like some of our videos. Maybe we will see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye-bye.